Hey everyone, Jason Katzenback here along with Rich Henderson, and welcome to the next episode of Million Dollar Brands Live. We've got another great episode for you today. We've got an interview with a fantastic couple who have done some exceptional things. They have able to start a business. They did this a few years ago with us with only $500 in inventory, and have been able to grow their business to a point where they were able to sell it for around $4 million. Now, this is an incredible story. They're incredible people. And the really cool thing about this too is once they sold their business, guess what they did? They immediately started a new one with Amazon again. So it just shows you, first of all, how fun this business is, but how powerful it is learning this stuff, because once you learn it, you can just rinse and repeat. Now, you might be sitting there saying, I have no desire to create a huge business that I want to sell. I just want something that makes passive income. That's perfectly fine as well today. But today you're going to hear one of the extreme success stories that will give you tons of inspiration. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get right into it. So let's introduce the Cupps.
Hey guys.
Hey,
how's it going?
Hey Leah, hey David. So I guess let's start right from the beginning. Like, when did you actually get started with Amazon?
2014.
2000. So that would be ASM 4.
Yep.
Hey, look at that.
I'm
lose track. I cheated. I looked it up earlier. So like Jason's already said, you started, I mean, actually, before I go there, what made you so interested in this business? What made you want to do it?
Yeah, so our motivation was, it was really somewhat lifestyle related, but it had a lot to do with our family. David was a very successful medical sales. He was doing medical sales, and he had to be gone 3 or 4 nights a week traveling. So he had to be away from our daughter. We had one daughter at the time. And so our goal was to bring Daddy home. We wanted to make enough income to out-earn what he was making so that we could all be together as a family.
And that's what we called it, was the Bring Daddy Home Project. So that was my motivation out there. What's funny is, like, I was doing well at the job. It was what I thought was my dream job at the time. But then what really made me do better than I've ever done in my career was the motivation that as our business, as our online business grew, our need for more funding for inventory also grew. So the only place that was going to come from was me working harder, getting bigger bonuses and things like that. So it actually, when I and we can talk about that in a second, but when I was able to finally quit my job, when we exceeded my income, that year I had won all the awards that the company had to offer, because I was just working as hard as I possibly can. And then I would get it, when I get in my hotel, then I would get on the computer and start working on our online business. But basically when I quit, the president of the company was with me, and I landed the largest account the company had ever had. And I brought the president with me to help me land it. And afterwards we sat down at the bar, we cheersed, we had a beer. And then I looked at him and I said, so how long will it take you to find my replacement? and I got to tell you, anytime you're in the corporate world, there's always like little things that happen. I love what I did. I love the people I worked with. There's always kind of those things. It's like, if I could just like kind of be like, just kind of quit and just, just kind of, I don't know, not throw it in their face, but
No, you can say that.
Yeah, just like do that, it would feel kind of good. And so I left on good terms. I trained the new rep, and then I was out, and people were kind of in disbelief that I was leaving, especially after just winning those awards. But it was all, I just worked hard and won those awards just because I was feeding our business and stuff. So
That's awesome. Where are you guys right now?
So we are down in Florida at the Marriott Singer Island. We're on fall break. The kids have 2 weeks off, so we took a week and we're down here just hanging out with our kids. They're actually upstairs in the hotel room with the babysitter right now. We're gonna grab a little dinner and drinks after this and have a little date night.
Awesome. So let's talk about now where you are with your business. So give us a story about once you joined ASM, a little bit of the story, and lead us to where you are now.
Okay. Well, we started in 2014. As you guys mentioned, we actually started with just $500 for inventory. We had a product that was a beauty product that was a powder that came in a jar. So we literally ordered the bags of powder, ordered the jars, ordered the labels, and we hand assembled everything just so we could get online and get started. We were just so excited to just like get rolling and see what we could do with this business.
Well, on that note, I do want to apologize to anybody that got those products early on when the label was all like wrinkled and crooked because I was putting them on by hand, and
we like had a hand shrink wrapper, like with the heat gun.
Using
and all
a heat gun to shrink wrap.
So anyway, so we started that way, and then we took ASM, and we actually figured out that you could like source products from China, which we kind of didn't. We really needed the help. Like we had gotten started, but it wasn't until we took the course that our business really started to grow. And then when we went to our first like seller con, it was amazing. Like that blew us away. We went and sat down at Giada's in Las Vegas. We mapped out an entire line of products for our baby line. And that was like February of 2015. And then in July of 2016, David quit his job, and we were talking to a friend who was like, "Hey, have you guys ever thought about like selling your business?" And we said, "No, that we hadn't really thought of that." Like, and
we didn't really know that. It kind of almost I've made this comparison before that. It kind of almost feels like you're kind of selling air, like selling your business. Why? Who would want to buy air? Because if you think about it, it's like you have your inventory and there's value. That's a tangible thing, right? But everything else is like ranking and all these things. It's intangible.
Your
it feels
brand,
it feels like you're kind of like your list of followers and all these things. You feel like you're kind of like selling air in a way. It's like who would want to buy that,
Yeah. So for example, when we sold our business, we sold it, as you said, for $4 million, but we only sold like 400,000 with that of physical inventory. The rest was just a blue sky is what they call it, and different like online assets that we had. So we found out that you could sell a business, and we tried to sell off one of our brands. We had 2 brands at the time that was smaller. A couple deals fell through, and then in December of 2016, we put the entire business on the market, both brands together. We received an offer within 2 weeks, an LOI, which is a letter of engagement or letter of intent, sorry, for a 4.7 multiple of our EBITDA, which is earnings before taxes, amortization, and some other things that I always forget. And so basically, we went under contract, and then we went through like a 6-month process. Part of it was due diligence. Part of it, they were getting funding. And in, it was July 30th, I think, of 2017, we were at SellerCon, and we went on a lunch break the last day and met with the notary that was gonna to sign the paperwork at your event at lunch break on the last day, sign the paperwork, and we got back on Monday and the money was wired into our account.
Wow. How must have that been to see that money in the account?
It was crazy. So I printed it out on paper, and we looked at it, and then we just put it in a drawer, closed the drawer, and like the next day we started a new brand. We're like, if this is like a legit opportunity, which it was, we want to do this again. So we started a brand while David was like working super hard to like train the new owners and make sure that they had everything. We started a new brand, and by the end of 2017, we had 3 brands.
Wow.
And so now, like this year, we're on track to do with all brands combined, we're on track to do about 3.6 million in sales. And then our goal is to sell the company, all 3 brands together, in July of 2020.
Awesome.
Cool. So we've got 2 new reasons now to go to SellerCon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 amazing reasons. We're going to use, like when we launch SellerCon next year, we'll put you front and center, because go to SellerCon, you get 4 million put into your bank account.
We have the picture
2 are related, right?
in the lobby.
You might need to add a disclaimer to that.
Put a
one.
disclaimer there.
Yeah.
I was joking for everyone else watching.
So I want to bring up 2 good points that you brought on there, because a lot of times people getting started, they're worried about how do I compete with these big brands. And a lot of it is we tell people to start with low risk. You're talking about like you apologize for the shrink wrap thing, so it just shows you like the importance is getting started. Obviously having a good product, you had a good product, but don't get hung up so much on those little details. just get something started. And the other cool thing that you mentioned that a lot of people don't realize too is that when I had a business before I started selling on Amazon, and it was all e-commerce based, but it was not selling any of my own products. It was all affiliate based. And that's one of the things I struggled with, is I didn't feel I was building anything that was really an asset to me. Sure, I had my email list and all those kind of things, but it wasn't until I started selling on Amazon, had my own physical brand of products, that I realized that I have a real asset. And it's so funny because you don't realize that, like, yeah, the product itself is one thing, but it is also like all the marketing you put into it, all the lists you've built, all those other things become so valuable. And when you mentioned the 4.7 multiple, that's what makes those things so valuable. It's all those right things that you added into the business.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is they think, well, if they have a business now, or if they want to start one, they're like, okay, what's the business worth? And they just look at the EBITDA, just the number. But there's so many things you can add to a business that gives it more value. Like, you know, you're like your list, your followers, your subscribers, and all those things, and
your systems.
Yeah, systems, automations, all of those things. That, one of the cool things is that when we were in Vegas and we signed that paperwork, one of the speakers that day was our broker that sold the business for us. And they said, they're like, oh, somebody here that's selling their business or whatever today signed the paperwork today. What was cool is we met them afterwards, and we never met face to face. We only talked on the phone, and we were like, hey, that was us. And they pulled us in a room, and we spent an hour with them in the room. And basically what we said was, we were like, hey, we want to do this again. Can you help us reverse engineer it? You guys are the largest online brokers in the world. Tell us what people are looking for, and we'll build businesses around that. And so that's what we did. That's what we did for the 3 businesses that we have. So basically everything that we incorporated in the businesses we have now are exactly kind of the roadmap that they give us, what will sell for the highest multiple and what's the easiest to sell.
Which is such a good tip, because you might never want to sell your business ever. You might want to pass it down to your family. But if you build it with the intent of selling, you do all of those things that make it more valuable, make it more profitable. So it's very wise.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, just to follow on from that, I mean, at the end of the day, if these big venture capital companies want the company to be built this way, there's a reason for that. So,
right.
You know, it doesn't matter whether you're planning to sell your business or not. That's the way you build your business.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I'm really big on, like, you know, what I try to do, or what we try to do in the business, is we try to automate everything as much as possible. So when people are getting started, one thing they can think about is, like, if I were always kind of do everything as if you were going to sell this in a short amount of time, like you're going to sell it tomorrow or whatever, you know. So your accounting, all of those things, any automations like PPC, anything you can automate and make really turnkey, because the more automated it is and the more turnkey that it is, then you have a much bigger buyer pool that you can attract, because you're not attracting buyers that are only Amazon experts.
Not only that, but the more you automate and the more you do a good job of creating SOPs for your virtual assistants and all that, the less you have to work. Right?
Yeah, it gives you more, helps you to scale.
Then you can come to Palm Beach for fall break.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, when you started with ASM4, we had very little automation built into the course, into the whole program. You know, and that's something we've added more and more of each time. And this time especially, you know, like, we were introducing a PPC tool that literally, it's the best thing I've ever seen. And it literally, like, it's not completely click and, you know, forget.
Right.
It takes all of that, you know, the processes out of it, makes it so much easier. And that's a key for me, is what you're saying, because you're reducing the amount of work you have to do. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right?
Exactly, because you don't want to leave your 40-hour-a-week job to work 80 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with grinding for a while. I strongly believe in that, and just like pushing and doing whatever it takes to make it work. Because some people, you know, when it gets hard, you know, that's when the gut check happens. You know, it's like I think sometimes the difference between the people that are successful and the people that aren't is, like, once you start hitting those obstacles, people that are willing to continue to push through and just grind it out. That's the real difference.
Yeah, there's absolutely no avoiding that. Like if you want to have a successful business, and we were actually talking about this right before the call started, you guys created a lifestyle business. So like your goal isn't a $30 million a year business because you want to have time to be able to spend it with your family, to be able to do all those fun things. So you do as much as you can to hit that goal of having a lifestyle business. But at the end of the day, when you're starting out, you got to work hard. Like you want to grow it. Like don't join this and think like I'm going to work 5 minutes a day. It's like no, you're not.
Like, you've read the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. This isn't that.
It's not, it can be eventually.
You get there, yeah.
Exactly.
Eventually,
it's a very front-loaded business.
Yeah, but you can't go into it thinking, oh, I can just start this in the beginning. I'm going to be working 4 hours a week. I think that's one of the things that I think that and kind of the opposite of that. Like some people don't get started because they think, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of both of those things. It's like I want to work too little, or no, I don't have time to work that much.
I think consistency is the key. I mean, at the end of the day, if you only have an hour a day that you can spend on this, but you can do that every day, awesome.
Exactly.
Like do that. But the thing is, consistently do it. Don't just do like an hour here, then go back a week later because you'll forget everything you've done. You won't have that momentum. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
All right. So I want to run right into these because I know everyone's watching. They heard that there's 3 tips. And we want to hear what those are. So you said you have 3 tips you're going to share. The secret to building $1 million brand that sells for multi-million dollars. Let's hear that.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Okay. Well, I think one we just kind of touched on is that if you want to build $1 million brand, there's a couple of things. One is like you have to get rid of fear. And you don't have to get rid of it completely, but I guess what I'm saying is there's this quote by Jim Carrey that I love that says, he talks about his dad, how his dad wanted to be a teacher or something, ended up being a shoe salesman, and then he ended up getting fired from being a shoe salesman. And so his point was you can do what you love and fail, or you can do what you hate and fail. And so why fear like doing something that you might think that you love, So I think fear is one of the things that I see preventing people from getting into this business. So one of our tips for new sellers would be to, if you decide you want to be an entrepreneur, this isn't like a get rich quick scheme. Go into it wholeheartedly, push through the obstacles. Leah has a good quote. She doesn't see them as problems; she sees them as puzzles. And so I think tenacity.
Amazon gives me a lot of puzzles.
So I think tenacity, perseverance, like pushing through and being willing to like work hard and to make it work, because the failure rate of some businesses like restaurants and things like that are high. This is a real business. This is starting your business, so there is risk involved. There is the possibility for it not to work, but you only fail if you stop, if you give up, if you stop trying.
And so many of our successful students say the exact same thing. It's like when you do, I remember a long time ago, I went to a motivational thing that my company that I used to work for about 20 years ago sent us to. And there was a guy that talked about the word try. And he said, now I have something in my hand. He goes, try to take it. And so I took it. He goes, no, I said, try to take it. And you took it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oftentimes we say we try, but trying really isn't the right motivation. No, like decide you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. Trying is just, and so with this business, those people that go into it, like, I'm going to do this. Because you even said yourself, you talk to people that can see very simple, very clear. You can show them your bank account, they're friends. Well, what did they say then? Oh, but I hear some people fail at this.
Right.
Said, well, do you buy lottery tickets? There's a whole lot of failure there. It's just that mindset and it's fear. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So my number 2, I think, would be begin with the end in mind, and that works 2 different ways. So it works one way. So begin with the end in mind in regards to what you want from the business. So let's say there's 2 ways basically you can build the business. You can build it as a lifestyle business that cash flows, or you can build it as a asset that you want to sell. So we started out building a lifestyle company, and we ended up now transitioning that into like a business that we could sell, even though it still affords us a great lifestyle and it's very flexible. So if you go into it and you say 1 year from now, in October 21st of like 2020, I want to be able to quit my job and I want to be making $10,000 a month in net income. That's great. You have a very specific goal and you can reverse engineer that. Okay, well, I need to have enough products. Like say I have 5 products that are doing $10,000 a month. That's $50,000 in revenue. And if I could get to $10,000 in profit a month with that, then I can absolutely meet my goal of quitting my job. So I think, it works not only seeing it as like what you want to get from the business, but set some really specific goals. Like I want to have X amount of revenue by this date. And that will allow you to look at it as more of like I said, like a puzzle to solve versus like, oh, this is so overwhelming. I don't know how I can get a product to do. All you have to do is say, I want to find a product that does this amount in revenue. And that's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about all the noise that's going on.
That's perfect. You're right. So, like if a year from now, you're saying you want to be generating $10,000 a month, then you reverse engineer with that product. You say, okay, so that means by that time I have to be selling 52 units a day. So then,
Right.
Once you get it in, okay, my goal right now is to get up to 52 units a day in sales. And it just gives you that direction. And so often people are sitting there like, I don't know what to focus on. I don't know what to focus on. But if you know what your goal is, then you do know what to focus on. It's like right now, well, I need to get to 52 unit sales a day. So that's beautiful. And you also hit on something because I'm feeling like this is tied to your why.
Yes.
You guys talked about what was your why? It was bring daddy home.
Right.
Now, it wasn't money. Money was directly related to it. We know that, but it was a bigger reason. It was a reason that was like something you were all passionate about. And that was what drove you to hit those numbers, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think what I said earlier was I printed that out. Actually, I printed out like a whole graphic because I used to be a graphic designer that was like, here's the businesses, here's the revenue, here's what we're going to sell them for. But no, we printed out like bring daddy home and put it on the wall. And I encourage people to, when they set their goal, to print it out and put it somewhere visible. Because every day when you come across an obstacle and you look up, that's going to pull you through that obstacle. It's going to turn off the fear and turn on the problem solving, the creativity, because It's like, that is my goal and I'm going to do whatever it takes to reach
Right now
it.
I have these sliding barn doors on my office, and when I close them, on the inside, I'm the only one that can see this because people can't see it on the outside. And on the inside, it's this huge piece of white paper, and it says our revenue goals and the goals of what we want to sell for and by what date, and all that stuff is right there. And I look at it every day.
And then right next to it is the ages of our kids, when we sell the next business. And then we talk about, okay, Amelia, our youngest, we have 3 kids, is going to be 3 years old. So we can travel to Europe because she can watch a full movie on the plane or whatever. And so it's all connected, it's all intertwined. It's not just about money. It's about living an amazing life.
Well, and one thing I'll add to that too is I did a Facebook Live the other day. I deleted Facebook off of my phone, and we canceled cable. So when we talk about time management, I have a lot more time to work on the businesses because I got rid of those things. But so this was my first Facebook Live that I did just this past week, and this was maybe the 3rd video that I did, and I was on the boat with my dad. And so when we sold the businesses, it wasn't, the main thing was time with family, with our kids, but family is extended as well. So my dad's 85 years old, and I want to make sure I maximize that time, with him while he's here. So there were 2 things that we bought when we sold the businesses right away. The first thing was a camper. And so we could just go and camp and hike because we love doing that. So we could unplug and spend quality time with family. I think there's nothing better than just unplugging and just spending that time around the campfire, hiking and stuff, together as a family. And so we've definitely done that quite a bit. The other thing was growing up, our boats always broke down. We didn't have money, and I grew up on a small farm. And so I wanted to buy a boat that didn't break down, and so I could take my dad fishing. And so the video was me fishing with my dad on the boat. And those things are priceless.
Oh yeah.
They're worth way more than what we sold the business for.
I mean, it's interesting because like we talk a lot about the why, you know, once people have joined the course and when we talk to them about it and why it's so important. And that for me, when I can't remember who it was who taught it to me, but it was the actually having a picture and having it right next to where you're always working. And it's so powerful just to see that and just remind yourself, that's why I do it. But what's into like what I did want to bring up with you guys is, so I think if I'm not wrong, the ASM4 event, which you went to,
Yes.
was the one where Matt came up with what is still to me one of the most powerful things, and that was the no plan B.
Yeah.
Right? And he got everyone. I mean, look at that. I've got goosebumps on my arm.
does.
Now.
Yeah, I do
No
too.
kidding. And it's like, it's so powerful. And it's, for me, if you look at all the people that have had success and really big success, they committed to it. You know,
Yeah.
it was, whether it's because they backed themselves into a corner intentionally, like Philip Jepson basically took money, used the money from his kid's college fund to get started and didn't tell his wife to start with, you know? So it was like he knew he had to succeed. So he committed to it. You guys were the same thing, you know? You wanted to be able to come home, to spend more time with your family, and you committed to it. And I think that no plan B for me is the key to it. It's like if you commit to no plan B, and for anyone who doesn't understand what that is, it means there's no other option. Like no plan B means just that. It's plan A all the way, you know?
Exactly. I always like to quote, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. So then
I hadn't heard that one before, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. What's your third tip?
Some of them we kind of hit on as we were talking, but I think
well, a lot of them are things that you guys talk about. So building a brand. So when we sit down to pick a product, we say, okay, you know, let's say you're building a baby brand and you are selling like a car seat cover. This is like, don't sell car seat covers because that's, you know, you're saying, okay, so I have a customer that's going to buy a car seat cover for her baby. What else is she going to buy for her baby? You know, or I have a customer that's going to buy, you know, a pacifier clip. What else, you know, what are all the products that relate to that? And I think that that's really important. You know, people in the fitness category, or, you know, all the other categories, it's all about building a brand of related products. And I'm sure that you guys teach that, you know, and emphasize that, but I think that is so important, is you have to build a brand. And once you do that, you can cross-sell your products. You can, you know, create like a group, like we have an insert in all of our products that like, we have a Facebook group where they can go and get support for the product. They can ask questions. And I was shocked at how excited people were to be in this like group. And they're like talking about our products to each other, you know, so building a brand is extremely important. And then the other thing that I think is really important to touch on is just always be open to learning. You guys have mentioned you are always updating your course. I will actually go back and like check out the new courses to see like what new training you're doing, because it helps me to learn like what the new tactics and strategies are. And that's like the fun part. That's like the, I gotta, you know, I can't wait to try this out.
Masterminds, continuing to educate yourself, going to conferences like SellerCon and
we go
things like
every
that.
year.
I think that's probably one of our biggest strengths, is we continue to educate ourselves. We don't think that we know it all. We know that there's always more to learn. And so we continue to educate ourselves all the time. Like when I go for a run in the morning, like I'm listening to a podcast and learning more things, and just always staying on top of it. And I think that's one of the keys to our success, is we've never stopped learning.
Yeah, and that's the exact reason why with the Amazing Selling Machine, we make sure that every year we completely update it and give everyone free access to that update that's a member, because there's so much changing. There's always new things. As a community, you learn from one another. And so it just helps to make sure that we're always giving that new learning to people, because you're absolutely right. I mean, to grow, and, you know, something that worked 5 years ago might not work today. So if you're not always growing and developing, you're going to be left behind. So that's powerful. Cool.
I think one, I mean, I know we touched on it. We probably had like five tips by now, 5 or 6, I don't know.
We can talk all day long.
But I think the third thing that I was thinking of earlier is, and this is just kind of going by you know, thinking about when people are starting out, like what advice we could give them. And what I see people like saying back a lot of times, there's always like, a lot of times there's excuses or just reasons really of like why they're not doing it. One of them is like, I don't have the time, or different things like this. So I think going into this, like if we could tell people how to build $1 million brand is just put your head down. Like, don't listen to like all the chatter, and don't make excuses either, and just kind of push through and keep your head down, because I feel like as we were doing this, most of the people around us like said that we were crazy, thought that we were crazy, still think that we're crazy.
Yeah.
And
they don't understand
but,
what we do.
you know, and then when we sold the business and we, you know, had that nice payout and stuff, you know, it's kind of funny because then the people didn't look at us like we were so crazy, or I mean, many people thought it was a horrible idea to quit my job, you know, like don't do that. And so when you're starting out in you know, and building this business, you have to learn just to kind of like shut all the noise out, because sometimes even your friends and family can be the worst influences on on causing you to give up.
Right.
And so I think also managing your time. I looked a while back at like how much time I was spending on social media, and it was like 15 hours a week. Now, some of that was like checking the business stuff, but man, I got rid of it off my Facebook, off of my phone, and that gave me 15 extra hours a week. So when people, one more thing is we canceled cable. So, you know, that saved us $130 a month, and then also gave us more time. And there's a lot of negativity coming from those channels as well. You have the people around you calling you crazy and bringing in negativity, saying you can't do it. Then you have Facebook and the news
media,
and all these things like feeding negativity. And when you're an entrepreneur, the last thing you need is more negativity, because it's hard enough to believe in yourself sometimes as it is.
Yeah.
So I would say like one tip to building $1 million brand is to you know, to just not listen to the things around you. Put your head down.
Focus on your goals.
Trust your gut and focus, and just push forward.
Awesome.
That's
And I just want to mention one thing too, is I want to clarify that everyone's like, oh, well, is there still opportunity on Amazon? Yes, there are plenty of opportunities. Like, I could sit down right now. I've been keeping spreadsheets of like all these brands that I want to start, like when we sell our next company, because there are still so many like untapped niches on Amazon that like nobody is selling in and nobody sees. And so if you just look, if you're just like creative and like find unique ways to like find new product niches, they are still there, and there's still tons of opportunity, and Amazon is like this beast that just keeps on growing. So for all the new people that think that like there might not be like opportunities still on Amazon, there is still plenty.
Absolutely. It's funny you talked about the naysayers. So, you know, I remember my wife's father saying, well, what about your pension, when she was quitting her job?
right.
And, you know, and it's like, and I get it, like, especially like you realize for a lot of people, like their goal is to live their life for their pension. It's like for a $50,000 a year, you know, and it's that fear factor that really, you know, you've got to just shut that stuff off and focus. So that's awesome.
Just like, I think, so with that kind of thing as well, again, like we're always here to help. If you're watching this right now thinking that, you know, you're not going to have anyone to talk to, that's one of the other big advantages now, that we have this huge community of people. So people that like are just like you're just getting started. They're there to help. They're there to talk to you. You've got the mentors. You've got myself, Mike and Dan. You know, we're all going to be in that community helping you move forward. So there's no, like the fear thing you mentioned earlier, it's like there's no need to be scared of this business. If you get into it and you commit to it, you can be, you know, you can get the success that you want. That, you know, if you're willing to work hard. That's what I think it is for me. But it does, this question I wanted to ask, and we haven't asked it for so long, but I do want to ask because it relates to you two as a married couple, but also to other business partners. And it's like, how do you as a couple, as business partners, how do you make it work? Like, why aren't you constantly, I don't want to do that product. I don't want to do that product. I want to do this product, and so on. Like, how do you deal with all that?
Well, there is some of that. But
I think the easiest, one of the things that we learned, because in the beginning, like we would butt heads a little bit on things until we figured out that if we just stay in our own lane, if we just focus on, you know, we kind of assign tasks to each other, you know, based on our strengths. And, you know, once we started doing that, and like Leah's a graphic designer, And then she has a lot of other skills and stuff too. So all of her strengths, like, kind of put over in her lane. And then, you know, mine, like, I'm more like scientific about things. So I love optimization, you know, dealing with like all the PPC and the ranking and all those things. And that's more my thing. So we don't really cross each other's paths very often. And sometimes we'll come together and we'll talk about everything as a whole and educate each other on like what the other is doing. But I think just keeping things separate.
Although my eyes glaze over when he talks about PPC, so
Or we're like, oh, I'm doing this cool new ranking strategy. Like, look how quickly I'm getting this range. So like, I don't care.
No, but we
There's
do
pretty graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We do, and then the things that like so like I'll do like all of like the detail page images and all like the design and packaging and all that. But then I also like do a lot of the product selection. But then we'll work on that together. So I'll be like, here's this product I was thinking about doing. And he's like, well, you could improve it like this. And so we really collaborate on like product creation. And that's like an area that we collaborate well on. But everything else, we've just learned how to like, we don't have it like written down, but we literally like know, like, these are my responsibilities, these are your responsibilities. And then we encourage each other in the areas that we're responsible for. So I'm like, hey, you know, you're doing a great job on PPC. Oh, I love, this is a great product that you found. And like, I love it. You know?
So sweet.
How you work with a normal partner, you know?
Well, and the nice thing too is like, a lot of times, like when we run into like some type of obstacle or roadblock or some type of problem or issue, you know, it's nice then, because then we really come together and we work really well as a team to solve it. And so that's why it never really feels that scary when something goes wrong, because we know that we can, like, when we put our minds together and stuff, you know, and work together on it, we always come up with a solution.
If you can raise 3 kids together, you can run a business together.
Awesome. So we're going to take it back a little bit here and just ask you, the question is, if you could go back and you're going to talk to yourselves just before you got started selling on Amazon, what would you tell yourself to do different?
I would have said, you know, I wish I would have taken the brakes off sooner. In the beginning,
I tried to get you to.
David, it supposedly got me. Tried to get me to.
Oh, I think the
No,
lights
but, like, we were so fearful going in. We're like, I don't know, should we put money into this? Like, we were afraid of the risks. And if we knew the opportunity that lied,
we knew the outcome.
If we knew the, you know, like, we knew the outcome in advance, like, we would have like gone even harder. We would have grown even bigger. You know, maybe like, we bootstrapped everything. We never took a loan on our first company. Everything was like reinvested in the business, and then it was like all of our, like, David's bonuses and income from his job that got us started, and then continue to build it, because we were super aggressive. You know, I mean, I don't think everybody's necessarily as aggressive with growth, you know, because you can build this as a cash flow business. But yeah, I wish we would have like been a little bit more aggressive in building out the line of products, because you know,
sold it for more.
We maybe could have sold it for more.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so very much. We appreciate you taking time from your vacation. We appreciate you guys giving back. I know I always love seeing your pretty faces at the events. And just thank you for taking time to share. Yeah, look at those white smiles. You guys are so pretty. Even the beard, it's like a perfect beard. Come on.
You guys know that nobody's looking at me.
Do you know what's really funny, David, about that is I'm looking at a screen where we can see you. I've got a camera pole that goes right through the middle of your like face. I literally can't see you, so I can only see Leah.
No, but I just want to say we really appreciate you guys, because I can't emphasize this enough. Your course, like, we found your video with the horse heads back in 2014. But no, the course literally changed our entire life. So, I mean, we can't thank you guys enough for taking the risk on your part to sit down and say, okay, we're going to put this knowledge and information out there as a course and hope that people take it, because it was life-changing for us. So
Thank you very, very much. And for anyone watching, if you want to learn more, if you want to see more content, we've got AmazingLiveNow.com/free. Plus, today, actually, we're doing a webinar where we're going to be showing you about how to build a $1 million brand for yourself. Definitely going to want to check that out. You're going to want to go to AmazingLiveNow.com/million. Again, that's AmazingLiveNow.com/million. You'll want to check that out because on that webinar, there's going to be tons and tons of content. You want to close it off?
No, I think we're good. I mean, like, again, I can't thank you enough. We do love seeing you, and we'll see you at the live event, the SellerCon next June. Maybe we'll have them on stage.
Yes.
I think we might actually have to have you on stage and interview you live. Your story's amazing. You're amazing people. It's not just that you've succeeded. It's that you do it, like, you do give back. You do help others. And that's the way we like to be too. So thank you so much. For everyone else, I will either see you on the webinar. It'll be Matt and Mike tonight on the webinar. But we've also got a call live tomorrow at the same time, 3 p.m. So we'll see you then.
Take care, everyone.
You guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.